بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So inshallah, today we'll be moving on to the next letter, which is the letter Waw. So we'll discuss a few things. First thing is, how is the letter Waw pronounced? Second is, how is Waw Sakin pronounced with and without the mud sound? Because there's a slight variance, slight difference. Third thing is something called Waw Lean and two common errors that are related to the letter Waw. So first thing is, how is Waw pronounced? So a Waw is pronounced by joining the lips where you make them go in a forward direction. So your lips kind of, as you can see, they go a bit forward and you make them round without closing them fully. If you close them fully, that's more like a meme. So your lips go forward. From the sides, they practically close all the way, but from the middle, there will be some room still left. So first thing is, so you join your lips together like this, make them round without fully closing them. Secondly, raising the back of the tongue. Most people don't realize this happens when they pronounce wow, but it actually does naturally. It naturally happens when you pronounce a wow because wow has a sort of a slight heaviness into it. So it's not a wow, it's a wow, wow, wow. So this will naturally happen. You don't purposely do it. Your tongue will naturally just rise up whenever you try to pronounce a wow. So from this position, once the lips are forward and the back of the tongue is high, the letter Waw can be pronounced as mutaharrik and it can be pronounced as sakin, which we'll get to. We'll get to the examples for that in the next slide. But that's essentially a Waw, where the lips come together without fully closing completely, and then the sound of the Waw is basically made from there. One thing to know is that if a Waw is sakin, and there is a dhamma before it, basically, if it has a ooh sound, ooh, so that sound, ooh, like a ulu, right? So there's a ooh sound. So if there's a Waw sakin with a dhamma before it, there are two things that are different than the way a regular Waw is pronounced. Number one is there will be less motion of the lips. In all other situations, we'll see there's more motion of the lips, and we'll go through examples, inshallah. And number two is there's more sound coming from the empty areas of the mouth and not really that much from the lip area or that area. Inshallah, when we do the examples, this will become a bit more clear. But one thing to keep in mind is that ooh sound that's created, it's a little bit different than how a regular Waw is pronounced. Normally, no one really makes a mistake there, but this is just so we know. Now let's move on to Waw mutaharrik and sakin. So when Waw has a haraka, so we have to bring the lips together. Then the lips are released. They'll still be kind of round when you release them, and then the motion is made for the haraka. So for example, Wa, Wa. So when you say Wa, so their lips are together in the beginning, then they're released. Wa, Wa, Walidin. Then the second example, the kasra, we, faqa. So we. So it's together, and then it's released. We. And then finally with the dhamma, wu. Wujuhuin. So again, it's together and then it's released. Wujuhuin. So those are simple examples of a fatha, dhamma, and kasra. When a Waw is sakin, then it gets a bit more complicated. If a Waw is sakin, then if there is a fatha or a kasra before it, then your lips will still have some movement. For example, oh. So you'll see your lips are actually kind of moving. Oh. Or the next example, walidiu. So that's actually a dhamma too, but let's just ignore that for now. Walidiu. So you'll see your lips actually have quite a bit of movement when you're pronouncing a Waw with a fatha or kasra before it when it's sakin. If there is a dhamma before it, if there's a dhamma before a Waw sakin, then the lips do not really require that much movement. And some Qurra actually mentioned there should be no movement. And the sound is mainly just coming out from the empty areas of your mouth, like the alif sound, like the sound. The only difference is you're just making your lips round to do the same thing here. So for example, wa'akharu, ru. You'll see your lips don't have as much movement as the first two examples. Wa'akharu, ru. So you made your lips round. After that, you're not really doing anything. You're not moving the lips at all after that. وآخرون Whereas in the other examples on top, oh, the lips are moving a lot more. Walidiyu, there's more movement of the lips. So وآخرون يضربون. So it still becomes round, but there's just not as much movement. And there's more sound now coming from the empty areas of your mouth. وآخرو. You'll feel it in your mouth. وآخرو. Ooh, ooh, ooh. If you say ooh, you'll feel it. There's a lot of sound coming from the emptiness of your mouth. Whereas for all the other examples, a lot of the vibration was actually on your lips. Wa, we, woo, oh, walidiu. But for the last one, the sound is coming from more inside your mouth. Wa akharuna yadribuna. Because of that, there's actually a difference of opinion on where does the sound of a waw madda come from. But we're not going to get into that. That's like a early difference of opinion. Next thing I want to move on to is wawlin and two common errors associated with wawlin. So the first question, obviously, what's a wawlin? So when waw is sakin and there is a fatha before it, it's called wawlin, right? Wawlin. Lean in Arabic means something that's soft and easy. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you are soft for the Muslims. So it comes from the word lean. So waw with sakin with a fatha before it is called wawlin. The reason it's called wawlin is because when there's a waw is sakin and there's a fatha before it, it's very easy to pronounce it. It's very easy on the person who's pronouncing it. Fawqahum. There's not too much pressure, nothing, no complications. Fawqahum. Fa'ataw. Wa antumul a'lawna. So taw, low. So all of these situations, very easy to pronounce it. That's how it's called wawlin. Now the reason I'm pointing this out is because of something else. When waw is lean, meaning when there's waw sakin with a fatha before it, then the sound of it will start off with the sound of a fatha. Obviously there's a fatha before it. You'll have to start off with the sound of a fatha. But in the end, you're supposed to have the exact same sound as a waw that it has a mud. So the sound is supposed to start off with a fatha sound, like a sound, but it will end off with an oo sound. So end off with an oo sound. We'll go through two examples, inshallah. So that brings us to our first error. A common error is that wawlin is pronounced with a sound that is between a fatha and a dhamma, known as majhul. People mispronounce wawlin. It's quite common, especially in the Indian subcontinent, that they mispronounce a wawlin. So for example, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. And the second example, وآمنهم من خوف. I thought these two examples are good because everyone recites this all the time. First one is obviously Ayatul Kursi, second one is Surah Quraysh. So what would be correct? Correct would be when you have a oo sound at the ending. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. No. So it starts out with a na, goes into o, and then turns into oo. No. Same thing with the second one. وآمنهم من خوف. So we start off with the kha, then we'll go into خوف. So if that kha had a dhamma on it, khuf, it actually almost sounds exactly the same as this. They both sound the same in the end. Khuf, khaw. So it also has a oo sound at the ending. So when a waw is lean, it ends off with an oo sound, not an sound. Now the incorrect pronunciations are where we do not make an oo sound. We leave it as something between a fatha and a dhamma. How is it pronounced? لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Or the second one, وآمنهم من خوف. Sounds very dizzy, right? Khaf is wrong. It's khaw. Is an oo sound at the ending. Khawf. So if you say khawf, that's wrong. Nom, that's wrong. It's supposed to be nom. Khawf. So it turns into an oo sound at the ending. So a waw that's madda and a waw that's lean, in the end, they both are supposed to sound exactly the same. No difference between them. If someone comes late while you're saying wawlin, they should think you're doing an oo sound. So it should be exactly the same in the end. It starts off with a fatha, obviously, because there is a fatha. So once again, it should be no khawf. So it goes khaw. So you turn into a oo sound at the ending. وَآمَنَهُم مِّنْ خَوْفٍ. There's something similar with the ya, and inshallah we'll get to there when we get to the letter ya. So that's one common error. Another common error, which is not related to wawlin, it's just a separate error on its own. It is incorrect to recite a wow while placing any part of the upper teeth on the lower lips. Why? Because then you're going to get a V sound. For example, in the example above, it applies in all situations. Let's go to all the examples, right? Instead of saying wa, wu, we, someone might say va, vu, vi. Although it doesn't happen that much when there's a fatha dhamma kasra, it happens when it's sakin. For example, someone might say instead of khawf, they might say khawf, sound coming, khawf. Or for example above, fo, so that v sound. There shouldn't be a v anywhere in a wow. It's supposed to be wa. So the upper teeth should never be touching the upper teeth should never be touching the lower lips when we're pronouncing what do you call it, a wow. That would be incorrect. That will create a V sound. This is not a V, it's like a W sound. W don't have your upper lip touching, the upper teeth touching the bottom lips. So those are a few things about the letter wow. There are many rules connected with the wow, madda, stretching, and all that stuff. Again, those are temporary characteristics. We're talking about permanent qualities of each letter, not temporary ones. So we'll end off here, inshallah. Subhanakallah,